Hello everyone, my name is Elizabeth Bands and I'd like to welcome you to the April 4th Coalition Show. This is our May 19th, 2025 edition of the show. Our mission statement is we are for workers' rights and collective bargaining rights and are against tax breaks for the rich and corporations who ship our jobs overseas. We support all the articles of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, but as is our custom, we put the emphasis on Article 23. Dick, number 1, Sue, number 2.
All right, number 1, everyone has the right to work, to free choice of employment, to just and favorable conditions of work, and protection against unemployment.
Number 2, everyone without any discrimination has the right to equal pay for equal work.
Number 3, everyone who works has the right to just and favorable remuneration, ensuring for himself or herself and his or her family an existence worthy of human dignity and supplemented, if necessary, by other means of social protection. Michael? Number 4. Flip the page over. There we go.
Okay. Number 4, everyone has the right to form and join trade unions for the protection of his or her interests.
Awesome. And there's a lot of societal ills going on these days, right, Dick?
Yeah, well, there's a
And we
lot of
try to
people
emphasis on 'em?
that care. There's a
Yes.
lot of people that care. We'll start right with the Berkshire Eagle. Like we tell you to subscribe to the local newspaper, read print media. And this is this weekend's edition, and the question is, where would I go? And it talks about the plight of the homeless in Pittsfield especially. So we're going to first we're going to listen to a news report by WBZ CBS News in Boston about homelessness climbing in Massachusetts.
Homelessness in the United States has reached a record high. That's according to a new report from the federal government, which found Massachusetts was among the states with the biggest jump year to year. WBZ's Julie McDonald says this report puts some hard numbers on a problem that many communities are struggling with.
This is the former office of Wright Technology Group.
Howard Wright walks through the workplace where his team operated for more than 2 decades in downtown Brockton. But he tells WBZ they had no choice but to move for the safety of his employees, as the city struggles with encampment issues downtown.
It's become more aggressive, more violent. It's a situation where my team members don't want to come in.
Last month, Brockton City Council voted to ban encampments and fine people found sleeping outside. The mayor vetoed the plan. But Brockton isn't unique. According to a new federal report, homelessness across the country has reached historically high numbers. Between 2023 and 2024, Massachusetts experienced a more than 50% increase in homelessness and a staggering rise, 74%, among families with children. Advocates partially attributed this increase to the state's right to shelter law and its application to hundreds of recently arrived migrant families, refugees, and asylum seekers.
So we're seeing the number of migrant families coming into Massachusetts go way down. That's good, because I've also sent the message. Massachusetts, we are not a sanctuary state. If you come here, there is not housing here.
Governor Healey announced Massachusetts will stop using hotels as emergency shelters. The homelessness report also pointed to factors including a high cost of living, inflation, and increases in rents. Governor Healey said overdue reforms to the shelter system aim to support Massachusetts families who have fallen on hard times.
Until there's a plan, it's hard to hang around.
In Brockton, Julie McDonald, WBZ News.
So they packed a lot into that
2 minutes. Yes,
into the
they
2
did.
minutes. They talked about a lot. One thing they didn't talk about, and I think it has two things I think they didn't talk about that has an impact on our housing crisis, and we've discussed this before, is one is the Airbnbs. There's a lot of our housing stock that is turned into Airbnbs.
Which are, people may not know what Airbnbs are, Dick.
Well, it's just houses or apartments that are rented temporarily to people to come in rather than staying at a hotel. They would treat it for 1 or 2 days of occupancy, maybe a week. But what happens is then that takes those apartments off the market. and drives the price up because of the supply and demand. There's less available, so the demand goes up. And the other thing is, and we talked about it in another show, was the companies that have set up algorithms to aid landlords. They can buy this algorithm, and you just punch in what you have to rent, and then they figure out, they calculate, this is the most money you can get for that apartment. And if they buy into that algorithm, they're required to raise the rent to that amount. So it causes rents to go up all over the place and forcing people to move when they lived in a place for a long time, but all of a sudden it changes hands. New landlord comes in, maybe not from the area, and they use these algorithms or these companies that tell them how much they can get. It drives the prices and drives people out.
And consider I presume, the income level in the areas of the whatever.
No, I've had a friend that lived for a generation. He grew up in an apartment, and then he still lived in the apartment that his parents used to rent. And all of a sudden, the building was sold to someone else, and they raised the rent by $700. And he was on a fixed income. Luckily, he could get a space in public housing, but we have a president now that's saying that he wants to get rid of Section 8. He wants to get rid of public housing and just throw, I don't know what he plans to do.
Elderly, there are in these buildings mostly too, and there are a lot of people that are disabled.
And there's a lot of children in
I'm
there.
gonna say children.
So if I can go back to this paper, and again, I read it once, I'm not an expert on this, but I think this whole article was started because, like it was referred to in Brockton, the mayor, except the mayor differently, the mayor vetoed it in Brockton. The mayor in Pittsfield was advocating for an ordinance which the mayor introduced at the city council on Tuesday would amend the city code to ban people from creating temporary shelter on public property, whether it be a tent on a local park or a bedroll at a doorway of North Street or a sleeping bag tucked under the eaves of the library. The ordinance would also limit the number of days private landowners can invite people to shelter outside their property. The people who do seek shelter in public spaces, their belongings could be removed and impounded, and they and the people who help them could face criminal and non-criminal penalties. It's
not particularly compassionate of the mayor of Pittsfield at this time.
No, and there's been a reaction. There was a quote. An advocate responded in here
It's almost as if they're thinking the criminal system is a solution to the problem, that suddenly poverty and homelessness is going to go away if they're, if we make them criminals, that people are going to do something.
Well, this all started with the Supreme Court of the United States, and there was a court case in Grants Pass, Oregon, that went to the Supreme Court. And they were arguing that these encampments, people don't have the right to be on public lands in encamp.
Are public lands meant to be for the people?
Well, one of the responses, I think it was Justice Sotomayor, said, how about breathing? Would we, can we regulate whether people, if they can breathe?
Right.
Because they didn't want people sleeping on public lands. But they said, can we limit them on their breathing too? If they can't sleep on public lands, are we going to limit if they can breathe? I mean, being I hitchhiked in the past. I hitchhiked all around the country, and I threw my tent. My sleeping bag. I did use a tent a couple times, but it was too obvious. Most of the time, we just put a sleeping bag on the side of the road. And I have slept in parks and different things,
Right.
But it was, a sense of freedom. But it wasn't a thing where I would want to do it for the rest of my life. The type of thing is you have to close your eyes to sleep, and you have to know that you're not sheltered, and you have to just put faith in God that you'll wake up the next morning, you know, in order to close your eyes to sleep. So
Right,
these
well,
people that are camping out, that's
wanna
not,
be there.
they don't know. This guy, he's on a bunch of housing lists. You know, he wants to get housing. He wants subsidized housing. He just, there's not enough.
Oh,
there's
did you
not.
want to read the quote in there?
Yeah.
Yeah, that one, you had one you definitely wanted, no matter
Yeah,
what,
there
before
were-
we move away from it.
Yeah.
But I guarantee no homeless person wants it. I certainly don't want to be there.
It could
I
be
mean-
second, it could be second on the list, and if a family needs it, they can bump you down,
Right.
Yeah.
doesn't
you
matter.
know, so, I mean, sometimes it can take years.
Yeah. Fernando Leon, who's an organizer with Berkshire Interfaith Organization, said, "Homelessness is a complex issue. It requires comprehensive and compassionate solutions, not just one-sided ordinances that simply push people in crisis further into invisibility.
Into visibility.
It's a mindset. You know, our public lands belong to all of us. If we fence out those in crisis, we betray our moral duty and we break the trust that brings communities together and brings congregations together." He said, this is another quote, I'm not sure who was saying it. "When we talk about the capacity of Pittsfield Police Department as handling people in crisis, brown people in crisis, we have seen that they are not effective in doing so," Leon said. "We've seen that the type of crisis interventions they use are based on force, and that usually escalates the situation until someone might end up being killed," something that did happen in Pittsfield.
And I
had
guess the
somebody-
question, go ahead, Sue.
I met someone, I took some photographs of him, and he was homeless, but he liked being out, you know, in the woods. He used to travel a lot, and I let him in my house, and I got him Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, and so then he had some money. He could buy a tent. All he had was a tarp that he put from tree to tree, and I mean, it was all porous. I don't know how it even protected him, but then he got a tent and was able to get back into life, and went to Texas and saw his grandchildren.
Very
So,
good.
I mean,
It can be
I
done.
don't say that you should take homeless people into your house, but what I'm saying is I did this because I trusted this person. So, I mean, I just wanted to put that out.
But it's
Yeah.
proof positive they get a helping hand and they get a job.
Yes.
And they have everything else, and if society commits to solving the problem, it can be done.
Right. Like we had at the hospital, we used to have the Greylock Pavilion for people that were in stress, because there's a lot of people out there that are having psychological issues or mental issues that they need treatment. Or maybe there's abuse. There's people that are having drug abuse problems. We need to get places for them to go to.
Rebuild their lives.
Yeah.
And
But,
solve the problem.
right, here's a quote, and I believe it's from Kamar Talafaro, chairperson of the Political Action Committee for Berkshire County Chapter of the NAACP. He said, "The Berkshire County House of Corrections is not a homeless shelter. If we begin to think that we can utilize the criminal justice system to address what are ultimately ways that we fall short in upholding the human covenant between us, we aren't solving anything." You know, that there is a human covenant. But if we can transition from this, if possible, because where do I go? What if he had to go to another country? You know, what he had to go, if there was
What
no
if he
place
had
in
to-
America,
what if he got
right.
deported out?
So why don't we watch this video? Who is an asylum seeker? Would that person be an asylum seeker?
Ultimately,
Conflict or persecution force many people to leave their homes in search of safety. But fortunately, people affected by displacement have a right to seek asylum in another country. Asylum seekers are people who have requested protection from conflict or persecution, but their request has not been processed yet. People lodge an asylum application at a relevant authority of a host country, for example, a local asylum office. From this moment on, they are recognised as an asylum seeker. To prove that their request for protection is legitimate, asylum seekers go through a lengthy process. Trained officials will usually conduct a detailed interview with the asylum seeker. The interview helps them find out where the asylum seeker has come from and why they fled. Besides the interview, asylum seekers are usually asked to present identity documents and other materials supporting their application. That can be a passport, a birth certificate, or a marriage certificate. Next, the asylum authority will assess the credibility of the information provided by the asylum seeker. In particular, that means to find out the reasons why they fled and what risks they would face should they return. Processing an asylum application can take a long time. Whilst they wait, asylum seekers usually stay in the host country. In most cases, they have a right to the daily essentials: a place to sleep, meals, and healthcare. Despite this support, life as an asylum seeker can be full of challenges. Many asylum seekers stay in facilities with less privacy than in a private home. Whilst their asylum application is being verified, many of them live with unanswered questions and uncertainties on their status. During the procedure, they may not have permission to work and earn a living and to do other important things in life. Once the whole procedure is complete and every bit of information has been checked, the asylum authority will take a decision. If an asylum claim is rejected, asylum seekers are asked to return to their country and may get assistance to do so. Others try to appeal against the decision. If, however, the asylum claim is accepted, the asylum seeker will be granted protection. This means they gain refugee status or another protective status. Refugees should be granted a right to remain in their host country in safety and dignity. They should have rights to access education, work, healthcare, and other essential services.
Okay, now we have another video that we want to show is where do refugees come from, and then we're going to do right after that, who helps refugees.
Refugees can come from anywhere in the world. They are people from all walks of life fleeing conflict and persecution. More than half of the world's refugees are from just 3 countries: Syria, Ukraine, and Afghanistan. Some of these countries have been affected by civil war and conflict for decades, whilst others have seen conflict erupt recently. The number of people who have had to flee their homes because of war or persecution is higher now than at any other point since the Second World War. New conflicts have started, and some old conflicts are yet to be solved. These dangers prevent people from returning home. Durable solutions for refugees, like integration in a country of asylum or resettlement to another country, don't always exist. And so many refugees remain refugees for a very long time. On average, people are refugees for nearly 2 decades. Refugees' lives are often on hold. Many have no idea when they will be able to return home. Fortunately, many show a lot of strength and resilience and continue to build their lives despite the hardship they face. Many people and organisations help refugees. But who are they, and how exactly do they provide help? In 1950, the United Nations created UNHCR, the Office of the High Commissioner for Refugees. Originally, the Refugee Agency was only meant to exist for 3 years to help refugees from World War II in Europe. UNHCR's role soon expanded to safeguarding the rights and well-being not only of refugees, but also of returnees, stateless people, and asylum seekers all over the world. UNHCR also provides humanitarian assistance to internally displaced persons. UNHCR is the leading UN agency providing humanitarian assistance to refugees with around 20,000 staff members in 135 countries. In refugee emergencies, UNHCR often teams up with other UN agencies, like the International Organization for Migration, the United Nations Children's Fund, in short UNICEF, and the World Food Programme, amongst others. Each of them provides help to refugees in their specific areas of expertise. But the UN family is not the only helping hand. Hundreds of local, national, and international NGOs help refugees. Meanwhile, states and international organisations provide assistance with aid programmes. Together, all of these organisations offer a wide range of vital services for refugees. They provide protection, shelter, food, and healthcare. They assist children and youth in accessing schools and education. They provide access to livelihoods and assist with integration. So what can you do to help refugees? Millions of people worldwide, from all walks of life, volunteer to help forced migrants. They donate to charity, offer refugees a place to stay, donate clothes, provide language lessons, and many other forms of support. Whatever the scale, these initiatives make a huge difference in refugees' lives and assist them in making a new beginning.
And we encourage you to go and look at all those videos.
Yes, we do.
And it sort of shows that, like the homeless in our country, refugees, there are certain standards that are held to take care of refugees that we try to reach for. And that's what we have to do locally too. But there was a video that was made 8 years ago that I found very moving, and it's done with actors, but they're talking about what they took with them, what refugees took with them. So this is going to take about 5 minutes, so I'd like to squeeze this in if we can. It's what they took with them.
Wallet.
Empty.
Wallet.
Wallet. Money.
Coins.
Pennies.
Torch. Whistle.
Laser pointer.
Seen more clearly out at sea. 3 bags.
1 bag.
Rucksack.
Trunk.
Yellow plastic bag for papers, sellotape till waterproof.
And yellow cards for refugees.
A national ID.
Army service record.
And an information booklet from the government.
Diploma, electronics.
Certificate from high school.
Passport, if you've got one, you can take.
Expensive one-way ticket.
Fake.
Flag.
Flag. National flag.
Flash drive, laptop, phone.
Mobile.
Phone number, phone number, phone number.
SIM card.
Spare one.
Phone.
Phone.
Smartphone with Skype and FaceTime.
Headphones.
Charger.
Charger.
Overseas adapter.
House keys. House keys. House keys.
We have suffered so much. I want to study so that I can become someone again.
Painkillers.
Painkillers.
Seasickness tablets.
Walking stick.
Walking stick.
White cane.
Crutches.
Wheelchair.
Syringes to use in emergency.
Bandages.
Bandages, toiletries, toothpaste. Toothbrush and toothpaste.
Nail clipper comb.
Shampoo and hair gel.
Barber equipment.
And sunscreen.
An ointment for sunburn.
Tablets for son's epilepsy. 1 every day.
And all vaccinations recorded to date for the baby.
And face whitening cream. I want my skin to be white and my hair to be spiked. I don't want them to know I'm a refugee. What if somebody spots me and calls the police? Because I'm illegal. But not if I'm white. That's right, isn't it?
Traditional clothing.
Warm clothing.
Baby clothing.
Favorite clothing.
Dirty clothing.
Wet clothing. Layered clothing.
Pants.
Pants.
Sewing machine, it's my life, it's my blood.
4 dresses.
Change of clothes.
One pair of flowery jeans that I wore to a party and won't wear again till I go to another one.
One shirt, and one missing sandal.
Pair of shoes.
Pair of shoes.
New, never worn.
A hijab, a gift from a friend.
My favorite scarf with the skulls on. I just love the color.
My turban. My turban's my guardian. Now it protects my identity and my faith. Without it, I'm vulnerable.
Headscarf from someone who died in the conflict.
A hat for the baby.
And socks for the baby.
One nappy, just one.
And sanitary towels.
Sports jacket for warmth.
And some have a life jacket too. And some don't.
The most painful thing about being a refugee is that you wake up one day to find you've lost all of your liberty and can no longer decide on your life. It's like everything is closed in your face. So there's nothing else but the sea. There's nothing but the sea as a way to get out and be free.
Cigarettes.
Cotton.
Packet. Lighters.
Say pipe.
Ginseng.
Jerrycan.
Milk.
Sterile water.
Bottled water.
Water everywhere.
A half-litre bottle for a one-week trip.
Bottled oil.
Lemons.
Lemons.
Dates.
Dates.
Dates. Biscuits.
Crackers. Crackers.
Crackers.
Corned beef in a tin.
Tea set for the others on the boat. We're thirsty, tired, and afraid. I'll make some tea, that's what we do. We make a family.
Baby food.
Marshmallows. Bread that wasn't fully baked, the man who threw us out wouldn't let us finish up.
Metal cooking pot to make some dinner for the children.
One man only brought a cup.
I'd have been ashamed to ask every day for a cup just to take a drink of water. People get tired of being asked for things all the time, and eventually they will say no. Now, I have my own cup. It gives me independence, no matter where I go.
Plastic carpets.
Rug.
Pillow.
Animal skin tent.
A piece of mortar from the house.
Piece of soil from the garden wrapped in fabric.
Sacred soil.
Sacred books.
Sacred text.
Rosary and prayer beads.
Rosary.
Prayer beads.
Rosary.
My headdress hides the key to a small metal chest containing all of the essentials for a wedding.
Ring.
Ring.
Charm.
Ring.
Mother's wedding ring. I lost mine in the bombing, so my mother gave me hers.
My earrings. I make jewelry. All the jewelry of my people. It symbolizes freedom. No one tells me what to wear.
Heart necklace.
Heart necklace.
Virgin Mary necklace. Bracelet.
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 No, the bracelet's not my favorite thing. That's Nancy. She's my doll. The night we fled, my mother put her on my bed so we would not forget her.
But in all the rush, she did get left behind.
I don't mind. She'll keep watch.
Watch.
Digital.
And analog.
Family portrait.
Photos.
Photos.
Photo of my father.
Memories of my father. I have nothing from my home. Everything was broken in the struggle. We were out in just 10 minutes. They destroyed the house around my sickbed. The neighbors heard me shout and came and carried me out.
I carried both my children in baskets, swinging from a pole across my shoulders.
And I carried my virginity. Out at sea, we rubbed ourselves in vomit so the pirates wouldn't touch us.
I escaped with my children.
Sister.
Brother.
Husband.
Wife.
With my soul.
With my smile.
With my life.
Wow, that was powerful. Unfortunately, we got to wrap the show up for today. So power to the people and decide what you're going to do to help people every day.
Power to the people.
Strikes of the bosses we must pay for. From the cities and the farmlands to trenches full of mud. War's always been the bosses' way, sir. The union forever defending our rights. Down with the black leather workers unite. With our brothers and our sisters. Many far off lands, there is power in a union. Now I long for the morning that they realise brutality and unjust laws cannot defeat us.